Hey everyone, while ultra-premium smartphones have been getting a lot of marketing spotlight these days, often for most people it actually might make more sense to get a more regular flagship that doesn't have as many bells and whistles that they're never really going to take advantage of. I've been using one such flagship for the last couple of months, and it's really made an impression. I'm Angie for GSM Arena, and this is my long-term review of the Xiaomi Mi 11. The design on the back nicely catches the light with its subtle blue gradient. When you pick it up, you'll notice that the matte glass back is fantastic for not collecting fingerprints, but it's also a little slippery. The phone is thin and not too heavy, and it's comfortable in the hand. The weight is nicely balanced, the optical fingerprint reader is in a convenient spot, and the buttons are satisfyingly clicky. The haptic feedback is nicely done too. While these elements are a little difficult to quantify in a spec sheet, over the course of a couple of months they really make an impact in terms of how nice your phone is to use. Best of all, I found the Mi 11 to be comfortable with a case on. While it has Gorilla Glass Victus on the front, there's only Gorilla Glass 5 on the back. I'm not the most coordinated person on the planet, so while some other tech reviewers might enjoy their phones without a case, that's not a risk I'm willing to take, and I know many other people echo my sentiments. Now, if you grab the Echo Leather back version of the Mi 11, that's likely to be a very different story. Of course, one of the most beautiful parts of this phone is the screen. The 6.8-inch AMOLED panel has a 120Hz refresh rate, HDR10+ support, a 1440p resolution, and it supports up to 1 billion colors. I never had an issue with sunlight legibility, even on blindingly bright days. Since the colors are so vibrant and eye-catching, I take advantage of MIUI's reading mode at night when I want to relax. This makes the screen look like it has a slightly duller and more paper-like texture. I'm a bit of a heathen in that I don't necessarily prefer a 120Hz refresh rate, but when I did switch it on, the phone felt even faster and more buttery smooth. In part, this was also because the Mi 11 supports the Snapdragon 888 5G with 6, 8, or 12 gigs of RAM. I have the 8GB version, and honestly, it has been plenty even though I consistently tortured the phone with tons of apps open. The only downside to the fantastic screen and powerful chipset is that in comparison to other phones that I've used the same way, the Mi 11 doesn't last as long. The endurance has been decent, but definitely not amazing. I noticed this the most when traveling, even when I had reduced the brightness and closed pretty much every app. Its biggest weakness seems to be standby time because in comparison to phones my friends were using, this one tended to die faster. What makes up for this is the charger that the phone comes with. If you're around a wall socket, it'll go from terrifyingly low single digits to double digits in record time. If you choose to carry around a battery pack, I highly recommend going with one that supports fast charging because otherwise, it feels like it takes forever to charge. The audio side of things is a little mixed too. The speakers had very good loudness, and as far as real-world quality is concerned, I found them to consistently be a great alternative for when I had forgotten my Bluetooth speaker. Bluetooth connectivity was fantastic too. What I didn't love was the microphone. There were some moments where I found myself half yelling into the phone and still had people not understand me. This was mostly in busy environments, but again, previous phones that I've used didn't have that issue in the same situations. It's not the worst microphone that I've used on a phone, but it's far from my favorite. The Mi 11 is running MIUI 12.5 with Android 11 on top. For the most part, I haven't noticed many bugs, and most of the irritations I had were in the first few weeks of using it. At first, I had some difficulty setting up Google Pay, although after an update that seemed to be resolved. The other consistent bugginess that I discovered was in Spotify. Sometimes the play button would change to completely white and the app would play even though I'd closed out of it. As a whole though, I haven't seen any long-lasting problems. Overall, it's a very customizable and speedy UI that doesn't take long to tweak to your liking. There's a theme store with a lot of cool options, including super wallpapers that change when you open the phone, cute icon packs, and fun themes. Surprisingly though, most of the time I ended up using photos I'd taken as my wallpapers. The phone has a 108MP main camera, a 13MP ultra-wide, and a 5MP macro snapper. During the day, the main camera took photos and videos with gorgeous colors and great dynamic range. I rarely had issues with focus, which made it great for traveling because I could quickly whip it out and capture a moment without too much fiddling around. In low light, images were significantly softer and I had to be more patient, but with the AI-triggered night mode, I could get some nice shots. What wasn't as nice was the ultrawide. Unsurprisingly, there's a stark difference in quality because of the size of the sensors. This was the only time that I really felt like the phone was lacking and wished for something like the Mi 11 Ultra. Simply put, if there was a wider scene, I could try to capture with the ultrawide and be a little miffed at the quality, or I could try to use the panorama mode of the main camera because of the significantly better results. As for the macro camera, I doubt I've used it more than twice, and though the colors are vibrant, I honestly didn't have much use for it. When taking videos, you either use the main camera or the ultrawide and you can't really switch between the two, which means that I've barely used the ultrawide camera for videos. In some departments, like battery life, the Mi 11 is just decent, but in others, it's absolutely fantastic. It has one of the best screens out there, and it's a very ergonomic phone. The speakers sound good, and it has a great performance. Ultimately, I think it would have been better if Xiaomi just ditched the macro camera entirely and invested in a slightly better ultrawide instead, because it would have made the shooting experience much nicer. Overall, that might be my biggest gripe with the Mi 11, and honestly, I really like the main camera. I think that the Mi 11 is one of the best devices released over the past year, and I definitely recommend it. Thank you for watching, everyone, stay safe, and I'll see you guys next time.